Throughout history, different cultures all over the world reference a great tournament to fight for something known as Mortal Kombat.
My first question is for you. You know, you play a new character. So was there any Mortal Kombat character that wasn't in the movie that you took inspiration from?
No, I wasn't inspired by any Mortal Kombat previous character. I was inspired by the game itself, the energy of the game. You know, I'm a big fan of the game. I was playing it when I was a kid. And I think there's a creativity, there's a power, there's a fantasy element to it. There's a brutal element to it, but there's also a beauty element to it. And I think that the energy of the game is what inspired me. And then as an actor who loves martial arts and loves to perform my martial arts, it was an opportunity for me to showcase something and to represent, you know, for Asian Americans in a way that maybe hasn't been done in many years. So I was proud of that moment, and there was a lot of pressure, but it was also a great opportunity.
Well, you rose to the occasion because I can't wait to learn this new character. It's very exciting. Mehcad, for you, I feel like your character uses a very specific fighting approach. I was hoping you could talk to us about that because it seems very like brute force. So what was the specific fighting approach that you did?
We worked with this incredible sensei called Nino. Am I saying his last name right? Pinta? Nino Pinta?
Pila.
So Pila, sorry. I always mess it up. Nilo Pila. And he's an incredible guy who was able to, I think he knows 20 some odd fighting styles. So like, you know, we were like looking at Jackson, I was playing the game and we're trying to figure out exactly what his fighting style is. And he's an army boxer, which is like just brute force. He's a bruiser. He's the kind of guy who doesn't like. I would post videos of training, and people were like, "Oh, get your hands up!" I'm like, "No, that's not Jax. He doesn't care if you hit him. You can hit him. He's going but if he hits you, it's over. You understand? Like so, like that's what he's focused on. Like he doesn't mind taking a couple punches here and there because when he punches you, it's over. It's done. And so like I just really I did a lot. I watched a lot of footage on Joe Frazier. A lot of footage on Mike Tyson, the like who were the brute forces, who were the bruisers, who were the best, and these two were suggested to me, and I kind of stole my physicality from those two, and then also Jax from the game. He bounces a lot, he's got a rhythm, he's got a movement, and he bounces on his approach, and he dodges well. So I think we came up with something that was cool.
You did. I mean, it's so cool hearing your process too, and like who you were pulling the inspiration from, because now hearing it, like you can see it now. And I think back to the performance. So that's so cool. One thing I wrote down when I was watching the film, and this question is for both of you, especially you though, Louis, I feel like you get hurt. Your character gets hurt so much in the film. I was like, how do you make it believable? Like if someone like pretended to hit me, I'd be like, ow, but like I wouldn't know how to like actually make it look like I was hurt. So how do you guys make that believable?
Well, Naz, it was a very simple process because it was real most of the time. I mean, look, obviously, you know, I'm not getting punched in the face all day, but yeah, there's definitely a physical element to it. There's definitely a lot of times when you know, have these accidents, and there's times when they're not accidents and you have to just take a shot. And that's just what it is. And, you know, we do our best as performers to create an environment that's safe, but also, you know, as there's certain types of choreography and certain moves that are going to be painful. And that just comes with the process. But I use it into my character, like you said. Thank you for noticing that. Because we shot from beginning to end in order. And as I was continuously going through this film and shooting these action scenes, I was continuously more and more exhausted and more sore and injuries. And that's what the character was going through. So fortunately, it worked out.
Louis has had more fight scenes than I did, and he had some. You know, I think that there was more costume involved in mine, more special effects involved, particularly towards the end of the movie. But I mean, I sometimes I got hurt watching Louis fight. It was crazy. Like I was like, "Oh, my chin hurts. This is crazy." I know, but
it's like when you watch something on the screen, you're like, "Ow!" Like, I know Yeah, speaking of special effects, I wanted to ask you, Louis, like, what were you actually fighting when you are fighting Goro in the film? Like, what were you playing against?
That was me. I was me covered. I was in blue paint because you know
that was Mehcad.
They needed somebody huge. You know what I'm saying?
So yes, Mehcad's right. They needed somebody huge, and there was a stuntman, my friend Benny, who was on stilts. And so there's this giant man on stilts, and connected to his arms are these other huge pieces of it's like a kind of like the material that you would use for like boxing mitts, boxing pads, like a Muay Thai pad. And he had that as an extension. And he had this big old thing on his head. And then he had another amazing stuntman underneath him to play the other two arms. So when I was fighting these two guys, it was something that I've never done before, because usually I'm memorizing choreography with 2 hands versus 2 hands and 2 feet versus 2 feet, you know, and I can see what punches are coming, and I know when I take the hit, I know how to react. In this case, I'm fighting and my 2 hands could be up here, but I'm getting hit down here. So I got to do choreography up here and reactions down here. And then I got to do reaction up here and choreography down here. And so it was like, it was a really crazy process. And then after that is finished, I have to do the exact same choreography, the exact same way with nobody there. Because that's for the process of the visual effects, they need that, what you call a ghost plate, to showcase the movements I'm doing without anybody there. So we do it there so I can get into the feel of it, and then they leave the frame and I do it with nobody the exact same way.
That is insane. I hope that footage like gets like rotated on TikTok one day, like the actual footage. Did you play Mortal Kombat growing up? And if so, who was your favorite character to play at?
Yeah, I definitely played Mortal Kombat growing up. My favorite characters to play with were Scorpion and Jax, in that order.
Yeah, I played the game too. I played it as a kid religiously. I started off with Liu Kang, and then now I play with Kung Lao and Smoke.
Liu Kang.
Name's Jax.
Kung Lao.
What was it like being cast as one of the most recognizable characters in Mortal Kombat?
Well, it felt like my entire childhood just made sense in that instant, you know? All my quarters, hard-earned allowance, all that time well wasted, all the sneaking around with my Sega Genesis while my mom wasn't around doing the fatalities, that all made sense. That all came true. Yeah. And then to share that with the world, and to share that to see that there's so many fans that feel exactly the same way, it's real cathartic, and it's a vindication, I think.
Yeah, I got pretty emotional when I got the part, not only because it's Mortal Kombat, but also because it's, you know, my first main role in such a big Hollywood film. So I was overwhelmed by the chance and the whole situation. And yeah, I right away went into preparation. That's how it started. But I love Mortal Kombat.
We all love Mortal Kombat. You guys, have you seen this movie? And if you have, what do you think of your scenes? Because if I was either of you, I would walk away just feeling like the ultimate badass. We filmed so much, especially the fights. There's probably enough fight footage to do 10 Mortal Kombat movies. I think they took the sensuality and made it into the final cut, which is really nice and gratifying. I really wanted the relationship between Liu Kang and Kung Lao to show through, because I think they're like the yin and the yang. They're dependent on each other. And, you know, I don't think the story is finished there. As we know in Mortal Kombat, there's 18 realms, and we just travel between them. And I can't see what the next incarnation is. Wow. What about you, Max? Have you seen the scenes, and what did you think, it being your first major film?
Yeah, I mean, we all watched it together in a cinema in Sydney, but that was not the finished version. But however, I was already like blown away by that one. And then recently I saw the new one, the final one, with all the VFX and the music added into it. And I mean, Simon, the director, they all just did such a great job. I was blown away because I didn't expect it to be that good. So yeah.
Kung Lao has like some wild scenes. I wanted to know, Max, like, what are you actually throwing instead of the razor rimmed hat? Like, what were you actually doing in those scenes?
Well, in some occasions, it is the real hat. It is the real hat. But other times we had like a blue kind of lighter version of the hat that I would throw, and then it would be replaced by the VFX. And yeah, sometimes I probably didn't have any hat at all. Just
Max and I met like 9 years ago, so we're old friends. Yeah, we met on a movie called I'm Sorry I Love You in China. And
wow.
Then so when we found out that we're gonna be playing in a Hollywood movie together, he sent me what he was preparing, and he started preparing a long time as soon as he got casted. And so he's in the stunt gym, in Jackie Chan's stunt gym in China, throwing away this cardboard hat that he made for himself, and it looked amazing. And a lot of that stuff that you actually see in the movie is stuff that he actually choreographed for himself. So fantastic.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. It's honestly, I can't wait for the world to see it because it's so good. Ludi, you obviously said you played Mortal Kombat as a child. I wanted to know, which characters did you guys both play and why?
I played Liu Kang a lot because I think he's unfairly powerful. He just dedicates himself to those like 3 moves, you know, the bicycle kick, the dragon fire, and like the long kick, and the sweep, the super cheap sweep that everybody hates. But I like Liu Kang, and I like Sub-Zero because it's like fire and ice.
I also have to admit, I played Liu Kang probably more than I played Kung Lao, just because I didn't know too much about Kung Lao like back then when I was a child, but I always knew about Liu Kang for some reason. I mean, he was modeled to the looks of Bruce Lee, so I always had a strong admiration for Bruce Lee. So that's probably why I chose to play Liu Kang. But I also like Sub-Zero, and lately I enjoy playing Kung Lao.
Right, all the way, baby.
When we got there, it tore through our unit in seconds.
Sub-Zero's ice power is so striking in this film. Is it weird having to pretend that things are like coming out of your hands? Like, what are you playing to?
Well, when we were shooting it, the ice wasn't there for sure. I have to use all the fantasy and imagination to kind of like, you know, the first time I saw the movie, I was like, oh, and then you kind of realize with particularly what they want to go. But the funniest thing, when we were shooting it, I project what's going to be the force, how it's going to look like. When I watch the movie, somehow it just synchronized. It's just crazy. So it's just showing that you're on the same path with the filmmaker, with the people involved in the movie. So that's magical. That's magical, I got to say.
It is magical. You can tell on screen. But what are you playing to? Were you holding anything? Like, when were you shooting?
No, nothing. Yeah, I think everything I hold nothing. I just put in my mind that it's there. And then the VFX guy is just kind of checking how big the sword is going to be and how long, and then when you're going to hold it. So we work together to find like the best kind of like momentum. So for them because they're going to put everything in post-production. So, but without disturbing me, without disturbing my performance. So it was crazy that they did that, because I just did my part. I do everything my part. I did all my part without like, you know, get the distraction from them that you got to do it this way or that way. So they just, you know, kind of like follow and then resonated with the performance. That's pretty amazing, you know.
It's incredible how you're able to do it. It must feel so weird just going like this to nothing, you know? But you're a world champion fighter, Joe. So can you talk about your specific fighting style and how you brought that to Sub-Zero?
Well, I used to be a judo athlete for 12 years. And then, well, in judo, we didn't really punch and kick. Mostly just wrestle and ground fighting. So I learned everything from zero. I learned everything, one movie to another, just train with the choreographers. But I believe that martial arts is like music. You know, when you really good in one particular instrument, to jump to another instrument is just a matter of different outfit. But what's inside is the same. So martial arts is the same. So I'm a judo guy for half of my life. And when I jump to in the raid like Silat or in Warrior, a Kung Fu master, like in this Mortal Kombat, I play like ancient martial arts, like Chinese martial arts, that it's the same core, it's the same rhyme, but it's just different outfit. That's I believe, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way of explaining it, because I know you studied Wushu, Taekwondo, Penchat, Silat. So I was wondering, you know, which one are you doing in the Mortal Kombat film? And you just said ancient ones.
Yeah,
Can you talk about fighting and the choreography and like what all went into that?
Well, choreography decided. Of course, we have great choreographers, Chen, Griffin, Anthony. They're amazing. And then they showed me like, this is the fight's gonna be. So my job is actually to put a soul into the fight, to how fast I'm gonna move, which part that I'm gonna delay, which part I'm gonna stop. It's like the music of the fight, you know. And the fight needs to have a rhythm. So if you know the rhythm, and then when you watch the fight, it's like you're listening to the song. It's not just like hard all the time or like slow or fast. It needs to have all the combination needs to be dynamic. So that's my part as an actor, to feel it with what they choreograph already. So we worked it out, and then they were so supportive, and then we're so open in the process. So, well, we created a beautiful song.
You really did. It was amazing. Did you play Mortal Kombat as a child? And if so, what character did you play? Who was your favorite to play as?
I grew up playing Mortal Kombat, huge fan of Sub-Zero, but I gotta be honest, I played Scorpion a lot and Kung Lao.
Why?
Because they're so cool. I mean, Scorpion and like the chain get over here, it's just so iconic in a sense. Until now, it's just iconic. And Sub-Zero is almost like all my friends always say like, oh, it's you cheating because you just freeze me up and uppercut me and I lost quarter of my health. But I mean, there's a way. This is your skill, dog. I mean, you cannot really complain. No? That's why I like to play this character, because I always beat you up. So yeah, they're super. I mean, they're overpowered characters that you know for sure that you will win when you play those characters. Yeah.
These are your champions.
I'm Sonya. That's Kano.
Josh, this first question is for you, because a lot of the comedy that we get in the movie is through your character, Kano. So I was wondering, how much was on paper and how much was from you?
Look, I definitely got freedom to improvise, thanks to Simon McQuoid. We would often just put one down scripted, which is safe, and then say, look, go nuts, see what comes out. And I have an improv background, so, I was able to lean into that. And it was great. And the other actors were so up, including Jess. Everyone was so game to play with me in that. And it was an opportunity for me, not just to explore the comedy, but also to explore the character. Through improv, I was able to really discover who Kano was through my eyes. So yeah, it was, there was a fair bit of improv, to be honest.
I can tell you from my end, there was a lot of improv. Like, we never knew what was going to come out of Josh's mouth. And which was really fun, but tricky too, because, I'm so stoic in this movie and I have to maintain a straight face. And it was very tricky at times.
That's so funny. Is there a moment that you can tell us that made it into the film, or maybe that didn't make it into the film, where you were just...
there was multiple moments. I remember being in the middle of the desert when we first meet Liu Kang, and I know there were a couple of, I think he called MC Hammer. There was definitely like a line there. And then there was just a ton, the whole scene where he gets his Akana at the dinner table. I mean, there were a multitude of funny one-liners there. And that's the first time where we all actually are meant to be laughing at his expense. So that was helpful for him to be making us laugh.
Your fighting scenes just blew my mind. I wanted to talk to the both of you about training. Jess, we'll start with you. Are you trained in martial arts?
No, I'm not. And it's one of the things that really drew me to this role, was that I've just been desperate to be an action star from the day I was born. This is kind of my favorite genre to play. So I jumped at the opportunity and I took every opportunity to train as much as I could with all of the experts. We had Nino Pillows, a sensei who taught us so much in martial arts world. We had all of these amazing stunt trainers, Chan and my stunt double Zia and Tara McKinnon, who was also CC Stringer's double, like all these amazing stunt women that were teaching me how to look like I knew what I was doing.
Literally watching it, I was like, she must be trained in martial arts because that's how good you are.
I really honestly worked hard on it, so I appreciate you saying that.
I mean, did you get injured at any point? Because there's so much in this.
I did. I hurt my finger when in a fight where I was training with my stunt double once. I got bruises all over me from all of those like wire works. But I also have to give credit to my amazing stunt double Zia Kelly, who, you know, I'm sure there's a couple of bits in there where she makes me look extra good, you know.
Sonya Blade's such a badass. What about you, Josh, as a comedian? You know, how did you go into the training and tell us more about that?
Well, yeah, as an actor, I'm always thrilled to be able to do new things, right? That's like one of the benefits of being an actor. You get to kind of sample all sorts of different things in your life, you know, as opposed to doing one job and you do that forever. As an actor, you sort of, it's like a little, you know, take your pick. And so, yeah, this was a great opportunity to do something I'd never done before, fighting, martial arts, knife work. And but you look, I didn't really get injured that much. I had a little eye injury from a contact lens. But
really badass.
Yeah, that's what I'm a badass. I am like the least likely person to be an action hero. I swear to God. I'm like asleep by 9:30 p.m. most nights with my dog, and that's about it. But no, look, it was great. It was great. And Ben, my stunt double, you know, looks remarkably like me, which I'm sure he hates, but we're stuck with it. But yeah, he took a few hits when I was feeling a little fragile.
What kind of martial art did each of you have to learn for your specific character's fighting style? Jess, let's start with you.
I learned the stick fighting. So I learned with these like long bamboo sticks, and it was like all of these different rhythmic kind of patterns that you'd learn. And then because the knives that I needed to fight with were so small, they started with something longer. And that was kind of the best way to kind of hone my skills and coordinate me with my both hands working at the same time. So then we went from the sticks to the knives, and then that's kind of where we stayed, obviously, because she's a blade fighter.
Kano's more of a brawler, right? So he's it's a little more freestyle, kind of based in Western boxing, but also knife work. But yeah, he's a little more loosey-goosey, so not so disciplined with the craft of martial arts. You know, he's had a few beers, you know, by the time he fights. So he's a bit more, you know, he has a bit more fun with it, as opposed to, you know, say like Liu Kang or you know, Sonya's military background. You know, Kano's just like, he's a dirty fighter. He's scrappy. He'll throw sand in your face if he gets a cheap shot in. I mean, that's the kind of fighter he is.
He learned out the back of the pub.
Yeah, totally. In the outback, in the Aussie outback, he was boxing actual kangaroos.
Yeah, I got total Conor McGregor vibes watching Kano.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
That's so fun. Did you guys play Mortal Kombat growing up? And if so, who was your favorite character to play and why?
So I wasn't allowed to play. My parents wouldn't let me. It was too R-rated. But I would play at my cousin's house. I would not tell my parents about that. And I always played Sonya. So yeah, it's come full circle.
Yeah, I used to play down at the corner store in the arcade. And Liu Kang was always my go-to at that point. But that was just because I didn't fully understand Kano yet. But had I known what a complicated guy he was, I'm sure I would.
Very nuanced character.
He is very nuanced. Yeah.
Josh, since Kano always seems to have an answer for everything, maybe you can tell us why Mortal Kombat is spelled with a K and not a C.
Yeah. No. It's an excellent question.
What would Kano say to that?
Well, I would say that. You know, Kano would say it's because of Kano. It's because, you know, Kano is such a part of Mortal Kombat that you can't spell combat without a bit of K, a bit of vitamin K. But yeah, I don't know if it's ever explained. I know that you guys reference in the film the misspelling.
It's spelled wrong. I bet it is just something that Kano did to with everyone, just rubbed out the C, just drew a K.
yeah. And couldn't believe it took off. I was like, holy shit, they bought it.
I just wanted to know if you guys can give me your best finish him or finisher.
Finisher. I did it as Kano.
You did it as Kano. That was quite good. Finish him. That was not bad. I feel like I feel like I'm getting better at it. Finish him! Kano wins.
Simon, congratulations on this film. Why is this the perfect time to reboot this franchise? And what shape was the film in when you came on? Because I feel like it's been through a couple iterations.
Well, why now? I think the guys at NetherRealm Studios who make the game, I think they've done such an amazing job of evolving this game and just constantly pushing the envelope and improving. And I think perhaps it's probably I'm standing on their shoulders, really, I think, because they got it to a place where it's always been part of culture, the sort of global culture, but they've really elevated it and moved it, which allowed it to sort of us to springboard and make this sort of cinematic version of it. So I thank them for that. I take no credit for that at all. The script itself, actually, the framework was there, and the process we went on through development and working on the script was really a question of balancing character, bringing one character more into the movie, bringing this character down a little bit. So it was just this constant calibration of making sure the characters were all being respected as they should be. From day one, I said, this Mortal Kombat exists and is successful because of the characters.
Right.
If the characters weren't so interesting and powerful and much love, it just wouldn't be Mortal Kombat. And then when we started shooting, the realities of shooting sort of impacted it a little bit. And then you never really stop evolving and trying to make it better and better. You just, even through post, you're always improving and tweaking and balancing. So, but that was the key thing about it, was that character.
Well, Simon, you balanced it beautifully, because I feel like we do really get all the complex characters, and they do have, like, you know, their own shine just perfectly. So I can't wait for the world to see it. What went behind the decision for the fully R, to just go fully R rating?
When I came on board, there was no question that it was going to be done right. We didn't necessarily talk about what does the rating have to be. What we talked about was, what are the ingredients and what is the DNA of Mortal Kombat? And that has to be respected. If we changed this or that or some fundamentals, it was no longer Mortal Kombat, and it wouldn't have done it justice. So we knew that that was really important, and we knew that respecting character and the music and the brutality of it was all part of making up the whole package of it. And that was just from day one. So
I love it. Well, my favorite character, Johnny Cage. We don't get to see the infamous Johnny Cage in this film, but I wanted to know, if there is a sequel, who would you dream cast in that role?
I have no idea. I haven't really put much thought to it, to be honest, because we never really talked about a sequel. Whenever anyone did mention the S word on set, I would tell them to stop talking about that and say, look, let's get this right. If we get this right, then maybe the fans will allow us to do a sequel. But until that time, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So we've never really even talked about it. It's never been mentioned. And I don't know, to be honest. He's such a complex, tricky, big character that I haven't even wrapped my head around that yet. I don't know how that will come about.
Kill them.